welcome, gentlemen and ma'am. So you were all around the ministerial roundtable last night. You attended and you had a thorough conversation. As His Excellency Al-Khrayef mentioned in his opening speech, you discussed some previous matters from last year and then you added some new topics. So Doctor, let me start with you. What was your intake on the ministerial table? What does Uganda want from Saudi Arabia?
Oh, thank you very much. I did say that I was very happy to have been invited to this auspicious occasion where we are discussing about the future of the world in the energy transition. First, what guides all these things is to get some kind of legislative framework to guide the partners who come to assist you in the exploitation of these mineral resources. With me, recently we had a mining law which takes care of everybody who is coming to join us. We have plenty of these critical minerals to develop this industry. First, we told them, when you come, we advertise, you come, we have got what we call prospective licenses, where we show you the type of minerals where it exists in the country. You go and roam there, move around, and make a choice of the site that you want. And once you come back, you're satisfied, you say, I want to go to such an area. All right, we said, now you go for exploration. You know the terms of exploration, that when you do the exploration, of course you have to recoup at the end of the day what you have already spent in that area. You do exploration, you come back. If you are interested again, you say, I found it, you go give you a mining license. It also stipulates your share, your economic returns, and what remains the country. It also tells you how the local population will benefit from such a venture. We say in terms of employment, in terms of training, knowledge transfer in the future, what they have to do so that some of the investments which will come in comes there. Because much of the funding is coming from our partners all over the world, and they have shown interest, and some of them have already come. So that there is money remaining, there is money going, so that it is a win-win situation. You don't have to come, and then later when you are already in the job, you begin asking, what will be your benefit? It must be clear from right away, the moment you start. And then also, how about taking what at the end of the day, after beneficiations, there must be what your collaboration with other partners. You must be having a sizable value chain of where you are going, so that you make the final products and you trade with the rest of the world, so that all of us are supplied and the world gets what it requires to provide the energy transition for continuity, so that the world is greened. That's what they need, the world needs, and that's why we are shifting slowly, transitioning from fossil fuel. Uganda has even discovered a lot of petroleum, and we have done what we are doing. We are saying we shall sell to you as we move. We don't have to cause headache to anybody. It must not be abrupt. Then when we transition to where we reach and get clean energy, then we don't mind. So all these things are transparent. The way we relate with the region and the way we relate with the international community. Wonderful. So that all of us are working sustainably to benefit the world.
That's fair enough. I guess that's a common goal, and that's a unified goal between all countries. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Moving to Sweden, and Mrs. Sarah. So before I have a second question to you, I would like to hear your intake and Sweden's intake on the roundtable yesterday, and what was your main highlights from last night?
Thank you. I think it was a really fruitful discussion, and it struck me that we all share the view on the importance of the critical raw materials. I'm also happy to notice the enthusiasm around the sustainability, and we also can see that we all share the sustainability challenges, and I think that really underlines the importance of continuing the dialogue, the cooperation, and also sharing know-how.
Wonderful. And well, what about what does Sweden respond to when it comes to the increased demand of sustainable value? How do you think Sweden responds to that?
Sweden has a really strong collaboration between mining companies, technology equipment companies, academia, and also research institutes. And we believe that global innovation cooperation is necessary for the development of a sustainable and competitive mining business. And the Swedish industry is generally quite advanced when it comes to circularity and circular solutions. And the Swedish mining companies are also investing heavily in R&D and is at the forefront of technological development. And also EU has set a lot of regulations on circularity. Example of these are waste management, recycling. And Sweden has a really long history as a mining country. And it's still a really important business to us. And we also have a really strong exploration potential for most of the metals used in the new technologies that we see now. And we also have the potential to mine these sustainably. And at home back in Sweden, we are now working on a new mineral strategy because given the huge demand, we really need to facilitate the supply of sustainable raw materials from both primary and secondary sources. And it also includes actions focusing on increased domestic production, but also on resource efficiency, on circularity, and also diversified global trade.
Wonderful, lovely. And Finland, I mean, I'm sure you had some highlights of the evening last night, Mr. Rydman. What was your evening highlights from the roundtable?
Actually, there were so many countries represented on the table that it gave
70 countries specifically, yes.
Exactly. Very wide perspective about the whole wild mining industry in different kinds of countries we have. So it was really interesting. And it's very great that this event takes place here in Saudi Arabia because it's very impressive how strategic approach this country has concerning those matters. Because critical materials are getting more and more relevant, interesting, and essential when it comes to world politics, when it comes to different kinds of value chains, and when it comes to our relations with Saudi Arabia. So this is very resource-rich country. And Finland, as a country, is very known for companies that have concentrated on sustainability, on circular economy, digitalizations, and different kinds of researches concerning these matters. So there are many companies that might have a great input in Saudi Arabia's strategy, and actually there are already several companies who have entered the Saudi Arabian market, and I'm pretty convinced that there are even more to come, because this is a very promising market, emerging and a growing market. And especially when it comes to as strategic issues as the mineral issues nowadays are. So I guess there will be a huge potential still unleashed in this area.
And you see a lot of opportunities coming your way?
Absolutely.
In which sense exactly?
For example, when it comes to exploration, so in Finland there is a lot of know-how concerning that, because if you want to take mining industry seriously and make it in a responsible way, it's very important to make the excavations, those explorations as effectively and as responsibly as possible. And once you have done the research part as effectively and good as possible, so that enables also as effective and also nature-friendly way of doing mining business as possible. And there, I think our country can contribute a lot, also here in Saudi Arabia.
Lovely, good to hear that. Thank you. Moving on to France, Mr. Benjamin. Now, your intake before anything about last night's roundtable, please.
Yes, please. First of all, it was a very interesting discussion. Very impressive effort by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to have all these countries around the table. And I would like to highlight 2 points that are very important for me. And at the core of our strategy in France is international cooperation. And I want to highlight two types of cooperation. The first one is a technical cooperation between our Geological Survey Office and our training organization. And France is constructing a partnership with a lot of countries around the region, I mean Africa, Middle East, and East Asia, on this part, because we have to develop the resource, we have to explore our planet, and there is a huge need for technical cooperation on this side, and that's the first point I wanted to mention. The second one is financing, to develop this resource, to have the project going on. We need to unify and bring the financial condition. So in our strategy, we have created a financial project and financial institution to support projects in the region. I mean, depending on different projects, but it's equity financing, because we have put in place €2 billion equity financing for a critical mineral project, open to projects all around the world. And the second one is a public guarantee for projects, for the debt financing of projects. So in certain countries in the region, that can be a huge support to develop the project. And I think this subject of financing and technical cooperation was mentioned by a lot of players, a lot of ministers yesterday.
Yes, true. And we've discussed this today as well a lot. I mean, technology and new emerging technology as well, and how we can incorporate that in creating new baselines and you overcome challenges in the mining industry. Financing as well is a key issue. I mean, as I mentioned before, it is the elephant in the room that perhaps nobody usually speaks of. But is that where you see France contributing to the region in technology and finance?
Oh, how we do contribute?
Yeah.
By this new financial institution that we put in place, that are open for partnership with different countries. It's a business-to-business relation, but we are bringing some financial resource, and through training and technical expertise, and to develop the cooperation within the geological survey, which is important because most part of our planet has not been explored. So we have to do the work to identify the resource and then develop them.
Lovely. Thank you. Now moving on to Dr. Roman. Now I'm sure you have a different perhaps point of view or intake on last night's ministerial table. What was the main points and highlights that actually stood out for you?
Yeah, it was a very impressive round table, I have to say. Just to give it in figures, I just roughly calculated about three quarters of the world market of the raw materials side were present on the table.
Indeed.
So it's quite an impressive statement from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia making here, and I was very appreciative on that. Before I come to your question, maybe giving a bit an insight why we have this kind of age of raw materials in the moment we are going in. The European Union is committed by their Green Deal to become carbon-free until 2025, 2050. So this is 30 years about, so it's not a long time to change and make the transition. And to make the transition, that means we need new technologies. And all these technologies means more demand on raw materials. So the demand side on the production side to become carbon neutral. And that's the main reason why we need this race for raw materials. And that's why the European Commission was also introducing a Critical Raw Materials Act. And one clear message that we made yesterday from side of the European Commission was the invitation to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to join the so-called Critical Raw Materials Club. And this is something that we would like to see here also in this super region, a kind of cooperation on the, would say, in the level playing field, to see a long-term sustainable cooperation between Saudi Arabia and the European continent, as Europe has some mining sites, but it's more or less an off-taker of raw materials. And we need reliable partnerships on that to make a more resilient supply on raw materials. And I think this is something that we really could elaborate yesterday. It was a good starting point, I would say. And maybe just finalizing with an example, because your minister here was saying it's not the time for talks anymore, it's the time for action. I can bring an example from my home country. It's
Please.
Austria, and we have an lithium mine, a rock mine, developed, and this rock mine will be explored now in the next couple of years. But the refining part will take place here in Saudi Arabia. And then it's more or less for the battery industry, for the automotive sector, will be re-imported then to the European OEMs. And this is something that we can maybe bring as a pre-example here, how to make a collaboration happen. Because, of course, this is the situation that energy is more affordable here in Saudi Arabia than it's in Europe. And that's a way how we can maybe take advantage of both sides, mining, refining, off-takers, and also exchanging this kind of knowledge, kind of exchanging also long-term relationships.
I guess that's a smart way to do it, doing business, right? Thank you, Doctor. Now, I'm going to ask you again, Doctor, and perhaps I'll end the session with this last question to you. Now, with everything that we've been hearing today and all the progress we've been seeing and all the plans for the future of mining we have, what do you think Uganda's role or the role it could play in the future of mining in the region?
Oh, thank you very much. First of all, as I have told you, this is a nascent industry to us. We have found the necessary minerals that shape the way for green energy. Ours is to invite the people to help us to mine these things, process to a certain extent, and then supply the world. So because the demand will be very great. As these issues have now come at hand, we want clean energy. With us, we shall serve as suppliers to those markets for further processing, and we satisfy what we need, what the world needs to achieve green energy, so that there is very conventional way of living in the countries without the destruction of the atmosphere. Yes, that's what we are suppliers. But we need to process to a certain stage.
Good.
Then we supply. So the material, you are invited to come from your countries. Come and we discuss. The laws are very friendly.
Yeah,
So
good. That's good to know.
Thank you.
We look forward to that. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this session. This concludes our session for today. And we had a lovely intake about the round table yesterday. Thank you for your time. My panel, ladies and gentlemen.